Welcome to Women Entrepreneurs Radio. I'm your host, Deborah Bailey. And when I started this show in 2008, I was on a mission to promote women-owned businesses and help women succeed by providing resources and valuable tips from other women and men, small business owners. In each interview, my guests speak openly about their triumphs, the scary times, and tough decisions they had to make along the way. Women Entrepreneurs Radio is about showing women how to harness their natural strengths to achieve success on their own terms. Hi everyone, welcome to Women Entrepreneurs Radio with our host Deborah Bailey. I'm really glad that you could join me today, and if you're listening to this on Podomatic, then I hope that you will also go to iTunes and subscribe to the show. You can go to womenentrepreneursecrets.com, hit the link for the radio in the menu bar, and you will see all the links there for iTunes, and also the show's now being distributed to LinkedIn and YouTube and some other platforms, including LiveSyn. Also, some of the older shows are going there as well. So there's different ways for you to listen in, and I hope that you do. And also share it on social media. That'd be great. And then if you have feedback, please leave it on the blog, or you can also leave your review on iTunes, and that would be wonderful if you do. That will help other people find the show as well. So I hope that you will share your thoughts there about the show. So we're going to get started today with a returning guest. And Krissi Barr is the president and founder of Barr Corporate Success. Her dynamic presence, instinctive strategic vision, and creative thinking produce effective, sustainable bottom-line results for her clients. Krissi's can-do attitude generates confidence in her executive coaching clients and strategic consulting corporate clients. Throughout Krissi's career, she's increased the profitability of nearly every organization with which she's worked. She and her husband, Dan Barr, are the authors of Plugged, Dig Out, and Get the Right Things Done. And they're also the authors of the Fido Factor, How to Get a Leg Up at Work. And the business book is in the spirit of other best-selling business fables. Krissi Barr and Dan Barr draw on their collective experiences to deliver a breakout book that is engaging, engrossing, and empowering. Plugged teaches readers to shoot for par, a simple, proven method to achieve success based on 3 foundational elements. So welcome back to the show, Krissi. I'm really excited to have you here.
It's good to be back, and I'm excited to talk about golf and strategy.
Well, as I was saying before the show, I've only tried to hit one golf ball in my life. A friend took us to the course, and those of us who were at AT&T at the time, and it really didn't work very well for me because I never hit the ball. So I'm so excited to find out how I can maybe tie in the concepts, even if I can't say I'm a golfer, but I can understand how to tie these concepts together. I think would really be great. So why did you choose the game of golf as an analogy for corporate lessons?
Well, if you think about golf, we chose the game because it's such a game of integrity. And a fair amount of business in the U.S., about $73 billion, is attributed to golf in some way. And Golf for Charity contributes about $4 billion a year. So Fortune magazine does an article every year that shows that companies run by good golfers perform above average. And what we noticed is golf, one is it's an ethical game. How do you treat the course when you play? Do you fix a divot when you mess up the course? Do you fudge your numbers? Do you do a do-over when you don't like how the ball has been hit? And so we thought, there's a lot of parallels between golf and business. Both take a lot of focus, both take a lot of ability to make quick decisions and change those decisions, and both take a lot of, like I said, personal ethical responsibility.
And what's really interesting is how deceptively simple it looks to the observer. Watching a golf game, I might say, wow, okay, they're hitting a ball. But then when you actually try to do it yourself, you realize how much is involved in that. I can certainly, I can certainly add that to what you said as well, because it really takes skill and takes focus and all those things that you think are so simple when you watch someone do it. Do you both play golf?
I did not play when we first started. We had a son who is a 2 handicap, which is a fabulous handicap. And my husband plays to about a 12. And for years, they would go off and play golf, and I'd go for my runs and my bike rides, and we'd get back together again in the afternoon on vacations. And finally, they kept saying, you need to play. And I said, it's not very physical. I said, when you carry your clubs and you walk, it's very physical. So I started taking lessons and playing it. It was hard. I remember once hitting above the ball and then hitting into the ground. And our son, who's 30 now, was 16 at the time. And I said, I can give up this F game. And the F word was not fun. It was not a fun game. And he goes, Mom, would you let any of your customers give up on their business goals? I said, no, but that's different. It's business. He said, oh, no, it's not. If you give up on golf, you promise to play golf with Dad and me for the rest of your life. You're living a lie in business. And I thought, oh, my gosh, I'm going to have to stick with this golf. And so we played, and now we take golf vacations. And here's the beauty of it. That 30-year-old son, who most of my friends, adult children, don't vacation with them, we go, oh, we're going to go to this golf resort. He goes, can I come? Yeah, of course you can come. You want to vacation with us. So our son takes these amazing vacations with us because we go to these amazing golf destinations.
Oh, my goodness. That's terrific, actually. That's definitely not something I often hear about. So I think this is also promoting families to get together and have a relationship around golf as well. So that's a great story, actually.
Well, the whole premise of the book, which is it's called Plugged, Dig Out and Get the Right Things Done, is based on a rule in golf when you plug the ball. And when you plug the ball, it's buried in the wet grass like a fried egg. And it's the only time in golf you're allowed to pick it up, clean it, and place it, all at no penalty. And so we thought, wow, you get a do-over. And in life, you get a do-over as well. So Plug, Dig Out and Get the Right Things Done applies not only to golf, but it applies to business, and it applies to life. So all three.
Wow, that's true. That's really good. That's really good. So, I would think that seeing how golf is just so popular in corporate America, and do you think that this will have a special appeal for business executives because they'll kind of get tied into the idea of golf and now applying this to their leadership lessons?
Well, I often say that you don't have to like golf to get something out of the lessons from Plug, Dig Out and Get the Right Things Done. Mm-hmm. What I think it will be appealing is anybody knows that business is hard work. And if you're a golfer, you know that playing golf is really hard. And I often ask people, how many of you have ever scored a perfect par on an entire round of golf? And I spoke at Titleist once, and that was when 5 people raised their hands. Usually I get 1 or 2 people. And I've seen my son do it where you shoot 72 on a course, on a really hard course. And what happens is people say, well, it seems easy. The idea of playing golf should seem easy, but to execute it, it's hard. And that's how the pros benchmark how well they're doing. They're either plus or minus par if you ever watch a golf at a golf show or tournament. And what I find is we should think about par in life. And I use par as not standard or average or normal. It's the way we should live our lives, which is prioritize, focus on what matters most, A, adapt, C, change as an opportunity, and R, be responsible, own the outcome. And those 3 lessons, prioritize, adapt, and be responsible, sound so easy, but once again, it's really hard to do, just like the game of golf.
That is so true. And perfect. Oh my God, that's so perfect, the way that works out. But it's true. I think that is key for leaders and for anyone, really. I mean, it's not just that you have to be a business leader to have those 3 things going on in your life or in your work. So I think that's something that anybody can get something really important out of, actually. But it sounds to me like, golf is a game where you have to be honest and you have to have integrity. You're not cheating. You're hanging in there. You're persevering. Is that why you decided to use that as the theme for your book? Because of the lessons people can learn, as you were saying with your son was telling you about giving up. Is that what made you think this would be a great theme for my book?
Well, actually, what made it a great theme for the book came from my husband and co-author, Dan. He woke me up once at 2 a.m. with the idea of the book. And first of all, he said, wake up, wake up, wake up. Well, is there a tornado warning? Or do you want something else at 2 in the morning? What is going on? And he said, I had this idea for the book. So I can't take credit for the idea for the book and the name of it. We were trying to figure out, we came up with PAR very easily, the acronym, and it's the standard of excellence in golf, and how easily it fits to what one has to do to implement anything that you want to do, prioritize, adapt, be responsible. And the idea for the title came when we were working out one day, and I kept thinking about a title, and he said, I'm just stuck. And I go, that's it, you're plugged. And that's how companies are. You're stuck. You're stuck in your old routines.
Wow.
You're stuck in old ways of doing things. You're not moving forward with your strategy. You're not executing. You're stuck. And that's how we came up with the central theme of plugged and PAR.
Oh, my goodness.
Working out and waking up at 2 in the morning. I don't advise the waking up at 2 in the morning to anybody.
But that's great. That's how things come to you sometimes. It's just a flash that comes to you at odd times, or, you're driving or something, you're doing something else, and suddenly the idea pops into your head. So I guess that fits with other ways as well. Oh, my goodness. But yeah, 2 a.m., that may be a little startling for most people.
I'm like, what is going on? Is like a smoke alarm or something? I have an idea for a book.
Not quite what you're expecting to hear,
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
my God.
Let me get a cup of coffee. Let's talk about that. What time's the alarm going off? 5.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. I don't know if I'd be able to think too much at that hour.
I do think that I turned over and I go, can we talk about it in a few hours?
Right.
But it was fun. We had so much fun with the book. And then we really started thinking about just applying it. Right now is strategic planning season. And this is the time of year that between September and really January, everybody's prepping for the next year, for 2018. And so if you apply those PAR principles, okay, what are going to be my priorities for next year? What is under prioritize? What's my vision? How am I going to spend my attention? What am I going to focus on the most? And then the A, how do we adapt and see change as an opportunity? And what do we need to adapt for? And what do we need to learn? And then how are we going to hold ourselves responsible? These are questions we need to think about, and the prioritize, of course, what's your vision and how does it drive you and your customers, and does your culture support it? And what are the top 3 to 5 things you want to accomplish, and what metrics are you going to use to make sure you accomplish those things? And what changes affect you in the industry, from social, technical, economic, environmental, political changes, customers, pricing, trends, resources, and then, what internal and external obstacles we need, and how do we need to adjust to that, and what changes do we need to make, especially around trends and processes and systems and structures. So, there is so much that applies to this. And then, just tying into, okay, what are we going to start doing? What are we going to stop doing? What are we going to continue doing? Which fits totally into how we're going to adapt. So it really applies to how we need to think about the future and how we're going to implement that future. And just like in golf has 18 holes. And the front 9, I always say, are the planning. But the planner in us is different than the doer in us. And in golf, it's always fun to play those back 9 holes, play all of 18, because then we have to think about, okay, on the adapt and be responsible, is the team aligned on our priorities, and are they trusting each other and working together, and is everybody engaged to an energy level like they're playing in the Olympics, and what innovative ideas are we bringing in, and how are we making sure that we're tracking our progress, and if we're not progressing, how do we adjust our course, mid-year? So it's really important to think about just not only the planning part of it, but the doing part of it too.
That's really key. Actually, people can get stuck in the planning and not ever do anything.
Oh, you are so right, because Harvard Business Review did a study. 70% of companies will have a strategic plan. Only 10% will implement them. That's horrifying. Wow. But we're not much better on our New Year's resolutions. So come back to the life part. 70% of us will make a New Year's resolution. only 17% of us will implement that New Year's resolution, and 75% of us who made that New Year's resolution will give it up by Valentine's Day.
Wow.
So this is why we have to think about, okay, if I'm going to do something, what are my priorities? How am I going to adapt to make sure that priority gets done? And how am I going to hold myself responsible for making sure that it gets done? Hard.
Right. It's just that simple.
It's just that simple. Easy to say, hard to execute. But it keeps people like me in business, because that's what I do. I help companies figure out their strategies, and then I stick with them to help them implement their plans as well. So I'm the pro. I'm the pro at the golf course.
But Krissi, why don't you share a little bit more about how you got started with your business and everything? Because you I think the listeners, even if they listen to the other show, if you could just let them know, how did you get to the point where now you're working with companies like this?
Oh, thank you. And I work with companies from as big as 70 billion to as little as 2 million. So I find they have the same issues that they work with. So how I got involved with my business was 15 years ago. I was in corporate America, and I started my career at Procter & Gamble and left P&G and ran a couple of organizations, and then went back to P&G for a special project, which was a lot of fun. And then 15 years ago, when that project came to its end, I thought, I'm going to start my own consulting business, and I love what I do. My clients, like I said, different sizes, and they can range from the automotive industry to the insurance industry to one client makes sex toys. And so it's so diverse in what we do. And really where I start with people is, where are you now and where do you want to be? What's your winning aspiration? What's your vision? And it's shocking to know so many companies cannot articulate their vision. And that impacts the bottom line, because people might be busy in an organization all day long and just chasing their tails, running around in a circle, a lot of activity, but they don't really know what they're doing. They don't know how what they're doing plays to the most important goals of the company. And so when I work with a company on a strategic plan, everybody knows how they fit with the most important things that company's gotta get done. So there's a lot of executive coaching that I do as well in the implementation piece, because if we think about wanting a new result or wanting something different, of course, everybody's heard Einstein's definition of insanity, which is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. The other aspect of it is to think about our behaviors precede our results. So if we want a different result, we have to change our behaviors. And that's where the executive coaching comes in. So I'll drill down and find out what's making you stuck. Are you not adapting because of fear of change, that you're worried you might not have the skills or the tools necessary for that change? Or are you not adapting because you're time starved and you're overwhelmed and you're multitasking, or you don't have a process or a system in place? All of these are behaviors. And I work with people to help them get past the behavioral obstacles to implementing their results.
And that's very, very important, because, I was in AT&T for several years, and then I recently, maybe a couple of years ago, went back to another telecom that was originally part of AT&T when it was like, the phone company. And it was one of the research companies. And some of the people at the top were people who had been there since AT&T, since the decree that it had to break up. And it turned out that it seemed that there was so much resistance from a lot of people there to really adapt to the fact that that was then and this is now. And, I wonder, when you're working with these companies, do you often find that there is resistance to adapting to the changing things going on in technology and all these kinds of things? Do you find sometimes that the people you're working with really are afraid to let go of what worked for them before?
I think that the adapt part is the hardest part. But we have to remember that no matter how good we are today, we have to be better at it tomorrow. And outperforming companies anticipate and manage change. It's interesting that about 89% of CEOs, according to an IBM study, expect change. Less than 50% say they can deal with it. So Darwin said it's survival of the
fittest.
So I'm going to contradict you. Actually, he said survival of the most adaptable. I say this every time, and the whole audience will say fittest.
Yes.
No, he said survival of the most adaptable. So adapting is necessary to survive and thrive. And so one of the best ways is to adapt yourself. And I'll walk into an organization and say, all right, so how could you think you can generate sales? And they'll go, oh, let's do social media. We need to be on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram. And we need to go to more trade shows, and we need to do more brochures. And they never say they have to change themselves. And I say right away, the best way to adapt is to change yourself and to identify what is it that you're afraid of. And if you are afraid of failure, which a lot of people say, some people are afraid of success. But if you're afraid of failure, think about Thomas Edison. He had 10,000 ideas and 1,000 successful ones. Those are rounded numbers. But that's a 90% failure rate for the most innovative person that walked the planet. So we have to identify what we're afraid of, and then also go, you know what, it's okay to make mistakes. It gets us closer to success. Every mistake gets us closer to success. The Wright brothers didn't fly the first time. They took what didn't work, and you know what, then, you know, now we're getting on planes all the time. So learn, try something new, and the best way to adapt is drive home a different way from work today. Eat something different. If you go to your favorite Thai restaurant and you get tofu pad Thai, spice level 3, get the pad CU, spicy level 6 with chicken. You know, I'll go out and say, listen to country, listen to jazz on the radio, or if you watch Fox, watch MSNBC, you know, and vice versa. It's really train your brain to think differently. So that's the best thing. And it's interesting. We think 55,000 thoughts a day, and 50,000 are the same thought we thought yesterday. So we're living Groundhog's Day.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's like, what time am I going to get up? Did I floss my teeth today? Did I let the dog out? Is it a heartworm pill day? You know, all these things that we're thinking through every single day. So part of adapting is just teaching our brains that, no, there are other things that we should be doing and experiencing as well.
That's true. That's great. And I didn't realize about the Darwin quote either, because that's not what I hear. Nobody
ever says that fittest.
Right.
But again, remember, because their brain is taught that that's the right answer.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
And so it's really the most adaptable. But I looked online and go, no, it's true. I heard that years ago. And so I always know that's a gotcha line. I'm sorry.
Well, see, I learned.
Go ahead, ask me a question. I'll let you get me.
Well, see, I learned something from that, but it makes sense, though. I mean, it makes perfect sense when you explain it. It's like, yeah, of course that would make sense, but yeah, that's not what I hear. So of course I keep repeating what I thought was true, because that's what everybody else says. So wow.
Right. Yeah, that's
oh my God.
Really what everybody else is doing and saying.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, you know, we're talking about change and being adaptable, but, you know, what are the biggest challenges that you think that organizations are facing right now? Do you think that the change is the biggest one, or are there some others as well?
I think managing change is the biggest change that people are dealing with right now. I really do. There's so much thrown at us. We're having information overload. We can't keep up. So ergo, we multitask, which makes things worse because we multitask. Our IQ goes down to an impaired driver. It takes us 4 times as long to do something as when we're focusing, and our error rate increases by 2. So we're information overload. There's so much change. Where do we focus? And a big part of that is to say, no, stop. What am I going to stop doing? And say, no, not now. And make sure that you carve out time so that you can listen to yourself and listen to other people and have some quiet time to meditate and contemplate and think. Because if you're a leader, you're not getting paid just for doing stuff constantly. You're getting paid for thinking strategically. And if you don't give your brain that chance to rest, you won't think strategically. So I think just the pace of change is the hardest thing that's out there right now for people.
Yes. And it certainly seems that time just goes by faster and faster and faster as well. So just trying to keep up with that and all the information that comes at you in any course of a day. I can certainly understand that. But Krissi, could you please let people know where they can find your book and find out more about you?
Sure. So a couple of places. Go to pluggedthebook.com, PLUGGED, thebook.com. And there's an assessment there where you can see how well you and your company are at prioritizing, adapting, and being responsible. And just like golf, A lower score is better. So, and that's free. I don't even grab your email so I can harass you later. It's free. You don't have to put your email and all that stuff. So go ahead and jump on plugthebook.com, and then there's a link to my website as well, where you can find out that my website is Krissi Barr, KRISSIBARR.com. And just email me, and I'll make sure you get a copy of the book. There's some used copies on Amazon if you wanted to get that, but if you email me, I will send you a signed copy myself.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
That's great. So I'm sure that listeners will take advantage of that. But in everything that you do, what really, I guess, do you feel inspires you to say, I want to help people to get unstuck and I want them to move forward? What really drives you to deliver that message?
What inspires me is seeing a company and individuals who didn't think that they could get to a destination get there. When they say, I have a vision, I want to be this, and just with some behavioral changes and just with some planning and forethought, they actually get there. And what's beautiful, they're sometimes a year down the road, or sometimes you're 3 years down the road, and you look back and you go, my gosh, we did it, and we enjoyed the journey. It wasn't just getting to the destination, but we enjoyed the journey as well. So a lot of my clients at this time of year, they book their dates for October a year in advance because they want to have the strategic planning dates in there. This is just something they enjoy the process now because they've seen the results. And typically I'll have 5 or 6 clients be on the Inc. 500, 5,000 list on the privately held side a year. So it's a process that truly works.
And, you mentioned you picked PAR, the acronym and everything, but what key points would you like readers to come away with your book?
The biggest points that I'd like readers to come away with from Plugged is you may feel you don't have options, and you may feel that it's a limited amount of growth and choices that you have, but you control 100% of how you think and act. And so if you take the time to prioritize and focus on what matters most, if you take the time to adapt and see change as an opportunity, and if you take the time to be responsible and hold yourself and others accountable, you'll dig out and get the right things done. And it might sound easy. It's incredibly hard to do, but it is worth it. I talk to business owners all the time. We say, we're not seeing the profits that we thought. We're seeing employees not engaged. And I go, well, in reality, what priorities do you have them focused on? How are you giving them a chance to learn and grow and adapt? And most people, high performers, actually want a culture of accountability. And do you have a culture of accountability, or are you accepting the zone of mediocrity? And if you're accepting the zone of mediocrity, you're just going to encourage more mediocre employees to be part of your team, and the high performers will go elsewhere.
That's true. I've definitely seen that in the workplace where people start bailing out because it's just not, it's not something that's conducive to them really giving their all, or you just feel like something's missing, or you're not, there's all kinds of reasons why people feel like, okay, this isn't the place for me. But it certainly is something that you really have to connect with the people doing the work and find out what's going on with them, as opposed to, sometimes making decisions from a higher perspective, but not really knowing what's going on further down. The communication isn't there.
Yeah, it's that cascading and knowing, where do I fit and how do I contribute, and am I doing meaningful work, and am I being valued?
Yes.
That meaningful work, and am I really making a contribution? Because otherwise I'm just getting out of bed to get a paycheck to pay the rent. People really want to feel appreciated, and that goes into part of being responsible. If you're being responsible, then you're giving somebody an attaboy. You're celebrating those successes with them, and you're teaching them how to do it right when they do something wrong. Okay, well, you tried this. Now let's add this to what you're doing, that you might get a different result. So you take that time to coach and mentor and be a servant leader when you're being a responsible leader.
So it sounds like you're, I would think you're getting a lot of good feedback about people, using the tools from your book.
Thank you. I am. We're having people who say, Plugged, Dig Out and Get the Right Things Done is a strategy book, and which is about 40% of my business. And the Fido Factor, How to Get a Leg Up at Work, is a leadership book. So again, if you go back to what we talked about earlier, that behaviors precede results, well, the behaviors of the Fido Factor, which are to be faithful, inspirational, determined, and observant, tie into the strategic mindset of how do I prioritize, how do I adapt, and how am I responsible. So they actually work hand in hand. It just took me 7 years. I had 7-year difference. Plug came out 7 years ago. It just took 7 years to write the Fido book. But we write about what we know, and we know, my husband and I know about golf and dogs and wine, but I haven't figured out how to do a wine book in leadership.
Yes.
It might be the murky future.
Oh my goodness.
You know what? It's about innovation. You got a wine buzz going on, and you're talking about innovation. There we go. You come up with these uninhibited ideas. I think you just bought a new book.
Then you can get a special wine to go with it. So everybody can get their wine and their book, and they can just sit back and enjoy it.
And start innovating, yes. But
right.
Although we do have innovation in the A and adapt and PAR. So.
Oh my goodness, yes, you're covering every, the important ways to tell your story. So, definitely the wine story would be, or, maybe desserts or chocolate or something like that. You can pull that in as well. So I think people really, really appreciate and identify with those things. So, but Krissi, I know you're got a lot going on, and I want to thank you so much for joining me. But do you have any final thoughts that you want to share about what we've talked about today?
Yeah, my final thoughts about business strategy. It is the season, almost time for Thanksgiving and the holidays, but it's the season to start thinking about what is it I really want to get done personally and in my business in 2018, and then take a hard look at how you want to adapt and how you want to be responsible. And I can help you without even helping you directly online at plugthebook.com. In addition to the assessment, is a template of those questions that you should ask yourself and your team, and that's downloadable and it's free. So I'll leave people with that final thought that go use the tools that are out there and go forth and strategery and implement.
Well, that's perfect. That's perfect. And a perfect time of year for people to start thinking about those things and what they want to put in place and really follow through, instead of what most of us do. As you mentioned earlier, how people have all these wonderful plans and then they don't really quite go on past a certain point. So I think this is a perfect time for this conversation. And as I say, Krissi, I know you got a full plate going on there for quite some time. You're going to be very, very busy. So I want to thank you again for joining me. This was really a fun conversation, and maybe one day I'll go out there and try to hit the ball again. I don't know, but I'm more than likely will just get your book. I think that'll be better for me.
I am going to encourage you to go out there and hit the ball, because there's so few women out there. And you stand out when you're at the golf course, and it's a great. I use golf as a business entertainment tool frequently. Yes. And like I said, there are just so few. I did have one casualty on the golf course. I was playing with some men once and got rear-ended in a golf cart and turned around, and the guy goes, "Oh, I'm not used to stopping at the ladies' tees." So it can be a little hazardous.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Well, that's a way to meet new contacts.
Exactly. That was a great punchline. Yes, a way to meet new contacts by getting, contacted by rear-ending in a golf cart. But it is a great place to make business connections, and you will tell a lot about a person when you play golf with them. Do they take care of the course? Do they fluff the ball up a little bit and improve their lie? Do they do too many mulligans? Do they fudge the score a little bit? You will learn a lot. And for me, when I play golf, I never talk business. If I've got a business client, I said, that's the rule. I'm happy to talk business, but not on the golf course, because I'm too into the game. And so you show people that you also respect having a little downtime too.
That's a good point. But yes, it's definitely the place to be. So, I'll check out the book first, and then I'll get my confidence up for the game.
Give me a call. I'll play some golf with you.
Let me work on my technique first. Okay.
Yeah, we need go out and do a scramble. That's the best way to do it. Go out and do a scramble. We need more women on the golf course. We really do. And I find that the guys like the women out there too, because the number one reason why people don't join golf courses is the wife who doesn't play. So most of the men that I know will say, "I wish my wife played." Mm-hmm. So then you can take great golf vacations, and all golf courses that have or destinations have wonderful spas, and then your adult children will vacation with you. So it's all good.
This is perfect. Oh my goodness, there's so many fringe benefits here. So perfect.
I'm not a paid promoter of the American Golf Association. the PGA. The PGA has not paid me to do this.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm sure the listeners will get a lot out of this, and maybe even, if they're not golfers, they'll want to check it out. So, this has just been perfect and a wonderful conversation as always, Krissi. I'm so glad you could join me again, and I really appreciate you taking the time. This has been wonderful as usual. So thanks again for sharing your wisdom.
Thank you so much for having me again.
Okay, everyone. Bye-bye now. I know you enjoyed it, so please make sure you share this on social media, share it with your friends. Please check out Krissi's website and the assessment and check out her books. You really enjoy them, so I hope that you will also take advantage of that as well. So once again, it's Women Entrepreneurs Radio with your host, Jeffrey Bailey. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye. Thanks for joining us. You can also join in the conversation on Facebook.com/Women Entrepreneurs and on the website, WomenEntrepreneurSecrets.com. And don't forget to listen in on dvcoach.podomatic.com and on iTunes.